What the heck is going on? Obviously, it's Abyss of Legends. That's the information that has dropped. Just come off a live stream. Everyone's saying, like, what's going on with this? You know, cover this, talk about this. And we are going to do this in this video. And Kabam Mike is threatening people to be banned by saying it's too difficult. Yeah, I know. I'm not making this up. He actually did say that. It's probably in the thumbnail or something. But he has some serious words to say about the Cyclops matter. Don't use Cyclops. Who would? Even as a joke. That would probably be a bannable offence rather than saying it's too difficult. Obviously, first and foremost, to get to the serious side of things, there is a story behind this and talking about the build from going from Realm of Legends through to Labyrinth of Legends and then ending up with Abyss of Legends. At the end of the day, look, we all know this is going to be an event for those that are whales. But the fact is, if you want to get on with this as quickly as possible, just take your time, because that's what Kabam have said with this. Well, Labyrinth of Legends is something like, even now, with 6-star awakened Aegons, like ramping up those combos, you're able to get through it really darn easily, as opposed to most other content. And with this new type of content being put in, they want to make sure that people are taking their time, because it will give those a headache unless you're putting on an extensive amount of money, especially for things like revives, health potions, whatnot. The fact is, take your time with this, unless you're a whale. Then you do you. The game mode looks like it's broken down into these brands of the Abyss, which are all very unpleasant, but at the same time, something still hasn't been completely clarified, but we will go and try and see if we can get some clarification to the Limber side of things, especially from that of the previous Labyrinth of Legends, and whether or not that will be appearing in the Abyss of Legends, and these brands which are basically the pain in the butt things. Most of these various brands have different things that are going to be frustrating for the player. From going through like brand 1, where we've got like the defender has 1% chance to evade attacks, 10% chance instead, or if they have a class advantage, which a lot of times you're going to see things like class advantage, class disadvantage, where it's going to mean like, okay, do you use this set champion for this specific fight? In some ways, it could be a case of yes, because you'll be like, oh, okay, if I got a class advantage here, oh, wait, that's not going to be good. Because if you go like, oh, I got Namor, and Namor's going up against a skill-based champion, he's got a class advantage. That's great. Oh, hang on. No, it's not, because the fact is you then trigger off this brand of the Abyss. So a lot of the times we're going like, okay, hey, like this is going to be good for this. It may not be the case. Also, it's fair to say that, look, you're gonna be hit by an SP3, you're asking for trouble, so not many people would do it, especially with that brand of the Abyss 3, with 800% attack rating of the SP3. That's insane. There's also like a bit of a frustration with damage caps, something that has been raised, especially in some of the forums kind of correspondence, which we're going to go over in a moment. But you guys can be reading off the screen at the moment and just going like, wow, these brands of the Abyss are just a little bit, man, so frustrating. But at the same time, look, you know, no content should ever be not completed. And again, it's going to be a case that maybe Kabam are going to bring out certain champions in the future that will make this easier. The same way that 6-stars were able to do Labyrinth of Legends a lot more easier now than any champion has when Labyrinth of Legends first started. I think people were using 4-stars, even like really bad 5-stars. So, you know, it would be a case that over the years, this will get easier for players to grind out. Now, moving over to the rewards, and MCOC Truecross has put together this infographic kind of like thing here. Just going to give you an idea of like what it is per every time that you do a path or a lane, and at the same time, the 100% as well as the completion stuff. And for me, like, it does look all right, but it's the same thing as Labyrinth of Legends. Not exactly, and what I mean by that is scaling against the time and just timeline of MCOC. So, like, Realm of Legends rewards were put in at a time when it was a case of going, okay, those were quite good to get for that given time. The same thing could be said for Labyrinth of Legends. Like at the time, like getting 6-stars, getting tier 2 alphas, getting stuff like that was very much a case of like, this is very then and now. But nowadays, you kind of go like, oh, the rewards from Labyrinth of Legends aren't really that good. And are they worth doing? And some people would say no, especially if you look at stuff like the gifting event. With the amount of units that you'd spend, would it be worth just like waiting for whatever kabam are going to put out at Christmas for 2020? Bearing in mind, we probably won't have a gifting event ever again, but we'll probably have something to an equal kind of value. So you're kind of going like, okay, so maybe it costs me to do an Abyss of Legends clear about 6,000 units. Again, just throwing numbers out there. It may or may not be the case. If I spent those 6,000 units in for Christmas and say there's something on, unit offers, cyber weekend deals, whatever, the fact is, would I get more value out of doing that as opposed to something like this? And that maybe be maybe an option and less stress for those that maybe don't want to do it, especially against what they've seen. But again, hypotheticals, just thinking about it, putting the discussion out, and put your thoughts in the comment section about where you obviously lie with, are you going to do it? Are you still going to wait until next week to see what it's like before actually kind of going like, done, ow, and hit your microphone at the same time? Either way, the point still remains that this is sort out materials, and people will look and want to get that 6-star Awakening Gem Crystal. So we'll be really keen on doing stuff like the completion side of stuff, even though it might give people a bit of a headache. Obviously, for those really keen, they'll want to go for the Legends title. For those that aren't really keen, they may kind of like go a little bit and just kind of go, this was fun, and then take it from there. The Val side of things I'm not too impressed with, and I will just say for why, and that is just based on things like synergy creation. If you come up with something that seems to be what you kind of go strategy, and we've talked about this before, if you come up with good strategy in game and go this champion with this champion, okay, this is a good synergy, this is making something that we would go, that's fine, maybe team to kabam OP, and then go like, okay, well, does that not give them the right to have anything from the Abyss exploration or completion, from the Legends title and other stuff? That could be something that is to watch out for there. So if you know have a good idea, keep it to yourself before kabam, then go nerf it. But also, like, you know, do make sure that you are playing this above board. And the final thing is January 22nd is when this event goes live. I thought this would be the 15th, but maybe final tweaking now puts us to January 22nd. And now we're going to dive through a lot of people's kind of feedbacks, questions and comments about this whole kind of difficulty, and as well like some very good points about like locked camera, which is a little bit annoying. I understand kabam want to do this in order to keep some kind of mystery about it, but at the same time, you know, for stuff like guide creation, and especially kind of contradicting the point of like down here, where it's all about like, well, ask other people for their kind of like ideas of like how things went and stuff like that. So the purpose of this is like we can't create guides very quickly because it's all about collecting data. So we then have to kind of then rely on, okay, so this champion's here, that's going to be frustrating. And I don't know if kabam will go back to that same methodology that they've done with most kind of enemies they put into stuff and difficulty. Well, a lot of the times the SP1 is the kind of the jump off to avoid that primarily. And in some cases, some champions, we have the SP2. Because let's face it, if you've got some really frustrating champions, I'm talking like, you know, you Mr. Sinisters and other champions that, you know, equally difficult for whatever reason. Let's think about Alliance Wars Defenders. Then the fact is, it could be kind of annoying to go up against. But look, at the end of the day, like I said, content should be beaten at some point. It just depends on when you've got the strongest champions to do it, and also when we can create guides. Obviously, we can't. We have to wait for other people to do it to give us a full idea of guide creation. My major reservation about this event was the whole thing about the hit pools. Now, I'm not a big fan of fights that take a long ass time. When last year I decided to do Labyrinth of Legends, I think for the first time, the biggest frustration was just spending hours just in the same type of fights. And I'm not being rude, it was incredibly boring. I love MCOC, but the idea of me spending 10 hours in, and some of these fights lasting anything upwards of 20 minutes, and granted nowadays, you know, 20 minutes per fight isn't ridiculous, but it's just a case of like, I just don't like the idea of anything more than 20 minutes. Like if I have to spend 30 minutes in one fight, and it's a case of you ramp up so many hits, it just gets very, very time consuming. But we'll see, again, we'll see what they're talking about with hit pools here. Like if it's something like 10 million, god damn. I was waiting to see if anybody had put this, and big ups to DT Melodic Metal, who says, sucks to see a damage cap. It would have been great to see Star-Lord and Proximus Midnight's full damage potential. Totally agree, would have been nice to kind of see that, but obviously Damage caps is damage caps, which is what we had in lab, and this is unfortunately what we've got with this one. So far, I've not seen anything on the whole kind of like enrage timers or like limber or whatever it was. And the fact is, like, you know, I just want to find out what is going on with that, because that for me was a big frustration of that. I'm not saying that that would make it more like easy cheesy. I'm just saying that Kabam have added this new extra element of difficulty, and as well like preparation's difficult because of the extent of like locked cameras, and not to mention this whole aspect of the health pools. Like, just don't know. And as even like Talents puts here, it's something that I didn't really like the idea of. Anything more than 3.3 million. It's just like a really bit of a boring ass bit of content, just constantly just play out. But I understand Kabam have to put end game content in, and proper end game content is meant to be difficult. It's just finding that happy balance between the player base being happy and Kabam satisfying what they need to produce to kind of like ramp up the difficulty. At the moment, the discussion seems to be going on and on and on. It's like page 7, and probably if I refresh this, it's going to be at like page 8, page 9. We'll pick it up, the rest of it in Marvel Contest of Champions news tomorrow. But the fact is, like, it just feels that a lot of players are kind of focusing on the fact that maybe Aegon may be the true and decent champion for this. Seen a few people talking about like Quake and utilizing that champion for the point of damage outputting. But it depends like how many hit points you've got to take out the enemy, and at the same time working in that class advantage, class disadvantage problems with the brand of the Abyss. Or so, you know, check some of that stuff out, and the information link is in the description. But there's a lot to take on, and at the same time we still have to wait until the 22nd of January to get a full idea of the extent of how bad it is, and at the same time talking about the side of things, how do you feel about the rewards? Because that's another thing. Is this lost in the meta at the moment? And what I mean by that is 2019, the meta of the rewards. Are these significant and sufficient for you as a player? Or will it be a case we'll be talking about next year or the year after that they've kind of lost their kind of spark, the similar thing to like Labyrinth for Legends, and the easiness to that as opposed to like what you get out from it? I don't know, those kind of questions I want to leave you with. And that has been a video. Thank you very much for watching. Check out some other content here and other content here. Also, don't forget to subscribe here, and also support things like Patreon. If you want to support with a donation, please do. That would be really great for the channel. And thank you very much for watching this video. Bye bye for now.